Hey, what is going on, guys? My name is InTheGamerTag and I'm back for your daily Fortnite video. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys the best controller settings for Fortnite Battle Royale. I do these every week where I update you guys showing you my setting changes, different adaptations I've made, and how you guys can not only replicate it, but also optimize your own settings. You guys have been giving great feedback on this and it seems to be pretty much the fan favorite videos on my channel in terms of positive feedback. So if you guys find this video helpful, a like would be very much appreciated. On the contrary, if you genuinely dislike today's video, feel free to leave a dislike as well, and I'd also appreciate a comment letting me know what I can improve on for future videos to make them more enjoyable for you. Also, if you're new around here and would like to see more daily Fortnite content like this in the future, then feel free to subscribe as well as turning on those post notifications. With out of the way, let's hop right into today's video. So again, I'm going to be sharing with you guys the best controller settings on Fortnite, whether you're playing a controller on PC or if you're playing on consoles such as Xbox One and PS4. For me, I'm playing on Xbox One, but the differences between Xbox One and PS4 obviously are minimal. So again, regardless of what console you're using or if you're using a controller on PC, this will benefit you nonetheless. Even if you're using a mouse and keyboard, some of these settings might give you an insight on just basically what to do with your settings and kind of give you a general understanding in terms of optimizing them. Now for these videos, I do them weekly. Again, I share with you guys some changes I've made and the reason I've made those changes, and also I share with you guys my exact settings. This way, if you like to replicate it, you can do so. And also I share with you guys again how to optimize your settings. This way, if you don't want to replicate mine, I share with you guys how to perfect your settings. So without rambling on, let's just hop right into this. First of all, we're going to be going over my controller sensitivity for X and Y. This, in my opinion, is one of the most important and crucial sensitivity settings, and what this affects is basically your free aim. So when you're running around and looking around, this is what it affects, but more likely is going to impact your shotgun aim. Reason is because we don't always aim down sights with shotgun. We typically a lot of time hip fire, meaning not aiming down while shooting at someone. So again, having too high of a sensitivity for this is going to ruin your accuracy a ton and make you over aim, whereas if it was too low, you're not going to be able to keep up with them. So for me, I have mine set as 0.640 for both X and Y. Last week I had it set in the 7s, I believe, but since then I have lowered it and decreased it. I personally feel like Epic Games, every time they make like a weekly update or change, they ruin the sensitivity settings. It seems like it's never the same, but the past week I feel like they raised it quite a bit. So again, I took it from around 0.72 to a 0.64 for both of these, and this is currently what I find to be the best for me. On the controller targeting sensitivity, I have mine set to 0.30, which has been the same since for a few months now, and I don't plan on changing this. And for targeting sensitivity, this is more or less pertaining to when you're aimed down sights with like an AR or such. So having around 0.3 to 0.35 is typically what I'd recommend, and I know that's basically like the general average for competitive Fortnite players, at least on controller. So again, 0.30 is what I have mine set for controller targeting sensitivity. For controller scope sensitivity, have mine set to 0.567. Now the last decimal place really doesn't affect much, so again, have it around 0.565 or just around that area. So controller scope sensitivity refers to scoped weapons, so like the scoped revolver or sniper rifle is what you'll most likely use in terms of scope sensitivity. Now I'm aware that I have mine lower than a lot of people's. I think a lot of people have theirs set to like 0.75 or 0.8. Now I used to have mine set in that range, however it was just too out of control for me and it was just so hard for me to control it. So lowering it to this has been a huge help for me. It's not too low to the point that I can't keep up with people, and it's obviously not too high by any means either. So having it around 0.55 to 0.56 has done me justice. Now on to the controller building sensitivity. I have mine set to 1.950, which I'm aware is pretty high. Now a lot of noobs or people that just try to make it look like they're good at the game will try to put theirs all the way up to a 2, and they'll make the jump from the default setting, which I believe is 1 or 1.2, all the way up to the 2. So you're basically doubling your speed and it's putting you so far out of control. So optimizing your building sensitivity is going to be one of the most critical and important factors in having good settings in Fortnite. Obviously, if you take a really good builder and you mess up their building sensitivity quite a lot, they're not going to be used to it. It's going to be unnatural for them, and they're just in general not going to be a great player, at least for that time being. So having your building sensitivity into your comfort zone is very important. Again, mine's higher than what most of yours should be at, due to the fact that again the default is around 1.0 to 1.2. I'm sure a lot of you guys would like to raise it to the most max that you can, and what I'd recommend doing for this is play a couple of days on the setting you have it at now. Once you're very comfortable with that setting, raise it just about half a decimal place. For instance, if it's at 1.2, then raise it to 1.25, and then stay on that for a couple of days once you're very comfortable with that, and then raise it to 1.3, then 1.35, then 1.4, then 1.45, and so on and so forth until you've reached the max. Now mine stayed at 1.95 for 2 weeks now, and I really don't intend on raising it anytime soon, as it's done justice for me, and it's never been too low by any means, and it's never been too high to the point that it's out of control. So again, 1.950 is perfect for me. If you'd like to raise it, definitely do it in small increments, not just make the huge jump, because that'll be so far out of control for you. And this goes for every other sensitivity setting. Again, I share with you guys, I'm going to show you how to optimize it. Basically, take what it is right now for you and then lower it about a decimal place. So if your X and Y is at 0.6, then lower it to 0.5. If this feels too slow for you, then put it a decimal place above what you had it at. So again, if it's at 0.6, then now you want to put it at 0.7, and if this is just too high, then lower it just a little bit and kind of go back and forth until you think you found your comfort zone and what is again perfect and comfortable for you. And this is essentially how I've optimized my settings and how you should as well. Now for controller edit mode sensitivity, this is one in my previous video last week I said I'm going to focus on a lot during this week. I'm going to try different settings and find what's the best for me. And for a little bit, I thought that having it around 1.5 to 1.6 was going to be the best for anybody, because I felt like this wasn't too out of control. I thought that maybe having it at a max, which is 2.000, which is literally twice as fast as the default, at times might be too difficult and too hard to control. So that was my understanding for about half of the week. However, the second half of this week, I've raised it a little bit and I've gone into an actual 1v1 edit, like parkour, game mode or whatever in creative, where I would go on one side with a lower sensitivity setting for edit, and I would go and see what my time was. Then I'd raise it all the way to the max and see what my time was on there. In the gameplay in the background, I'm using the max 2.000 edit sensitivity. And I don't really do a lot of these edits that often. I typically do like window edits. I'd also again like to preface my edits in the background are not by any means brag worthy. And I'm never the kind to make excuses. Yes, a lot of these are user error. However, on Xbox and PS4, on console in general, Epic Games seems to have ruined the edit mode. It's been like this for about half a year to a year, where the edit mode doesn't really register what you do, and a lot of times it'll just be completely like disobedient and not again register what you have put into it. So for on PC, it's a completely different story. I've played controller on PC and my edits are literally godlike, and they're about 100% accuracy in terms of just complete speed and literally making every edit that I like to make. Whereas again on console, it's not really the case, and they'll kind of like assume what you're trying to do. You'll make like a simple staircase edit and they'll completely ignore it and make an edit of its own in Fortnite. So our edit mode sensitivity isn't really going to help that by any means. That's just, I guess, either the console or Epic Games having no care. But again, I found that 2.000, which is the max sensitivity setting, is the best for pretty much every player. You're definitely going to make errors regardless of the setting itself, but having it at 2.000 is going to allow you guys to make a lot quicker and snappier, I guess, edits than if it was a lot lower. A lot lower, you're going to have to make a wider range of edits, so basically you'd have to move your analog stick a lot more, and it would take up more time, whereas for the max sensitivity setting, you only have to do it for a little short period of time and don't have to move your analog stick that much. Now putting this setting against a setting that was a little lower, I came to the conclusion that this one's a lot faster. And on the edit course, it seemed like the average difference from this and the lower one was about 15 to 20 seconds quicker, so that's a pretty substantial number. Now that's it for the sensitivity settings. Now going on to general settings I think everyone should have on, and I'll explain why. Basically, sprint by default I think everyone should have on. There's really a reason you shouldn't have it on, and I'll explain when I go to my keybinds why I have this one and why I think you should as well. Tap to search or interact should be on as well. Basically, this makes it so you don't have to hold extra square to open up a chest. You simply tap the button and it opens. Also going on, I think aim assist should be on. Literally, if you have this off, please make the change over to it on, and you'll see literally like an increase in like 200% better accuracy. For edit mode aim assist, this should always be off. This way the game isn't trying to guess what you're trying to do. Turbo button should be on as well for faster builds. Auto material change should be on, but I believe this is on by default. And then lastly, Builder Pro build immediately should be on as well. This is going to allow you guys to build a lot faster. Now my brightness setting is actually different than most people's, and this might come as a shocker because most people don't talk about their brightness setting, as it's not something a lot of people change. The default value for brightness setting is set to 0.50. However, I have mine set to 0.8, so it's a little bit higher. Now the reason I've actually increased it from the default value is because if someone's like in a shadow or a darkened area, it's kind of hard to depict them in that area. It's kind of hard to see if someone's there. So raising your brightness slightly allows them to stand out a lot more, and it just makes your general view a lot better. A lot of pro players actually used to do this in a lot of FPS games such as Call of Duty. Now moving on to the second and last, and probably what a lot of you guys are focused on, settings for today's video, and that is my keybinds. My keybinds are pretty unique, however I've only changed about 2 of the settings. My Y or triangle is binded to edit. This allows me to make instant edits and not have to hold B or circle. Obviously Y or triangle is set to toggle pickaxe, so basically what I did is I moved that over to L3, which is the left analog stick when you click it in. And this just makes it a lot easier in general, and this is also why I have sprint by default on. Again, I mentioned everyone should have sprint by default on. I feel like this will help you guys a lot, and there's really never a time you shouldn't be sprinting in the game, to be quite honest with you. And majority of players actually have this setting on, and they have came to terms that sprint by default is probably one of the best settings to use. So that's pretty much it for my keybind settings. Now definitely stay tuned for next week, as I've been recommended some pretty decent keybind changes that I'll more than likely make in terms of editing, so definitely stay tuned for that. And then lastly, we're going on to the dead zone settings. This is something I think you shouldn't really change much, and if anything, I think everyone should replicate these settings. I have my left dead zone setting set to 0.20, and then for my right analog stick, the dead zone setting is set to 0.27. Now, to give you an understanding of what this does, is basically the area in which you move your analog stick where it takes effect. So basically, to get a better understanding and kind of get a feel for what it is, put both your dead zone settings all the way up and then go into a game and try playing, and you'll kind of understand what it does. So keeping it low is pretty much what everyone has theirs at. I made this change probably when they first came out, and I've yet to toggle with it whatsoever. So again, 0.20 on my left analog stick and 0.27 for the right analog stick. So that is all the settings for today's video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. If you did, a like would be very much appreciated. On the contrary, if you genuinely disliked today's video, feel free to leave a dislike. Once again, I'd appreciate a comment letting me know what I can improve on for future videos to make them more enjoyable for you. Also, if you're new around here and would like to see more daily Fortnite content like this in the future, feel free to subscribe as well as turning on those post notifications. But with that out of the way, my name is InTheGamerTag. Thank you all for watching today's video, and I'll see you tomorrow. Adios.